Welcome to Empower Her Radio, the space for powerhouse women ready to step into their next level of abundance, purpose, and personal freedom. I'm Dr. Corey Winn, a high performance coach, doctor of physical therapy, philanthropist, and business consultant. I help ambitious women align with their highest calling, expand their wealth and impact, and create a life that feels as good as it looks. If you're a high achieving woman who's built success yet finds yourself craving more alignment, more purpose, more ease, you're in the right place. Here, we bridge the gap between ambition and fulfillment. Through transformative conversations and proven strategies, you'll gain the courage to step into the fullest expression of you. Build a powerhouse business that aligns with your expertise and divine gifts, and lead your life, both personally and professionally, with unshakable confidence, worthiness, and compassion. This is about expansion, legacy, and owning your power unapologetically. You already have everything inside of you to create a life of unlimited possibility. It's time to unlock it. Welcome to your next level. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome, everyone. I am so excited today to welcome Suzy Wraines, a healing-centered business coach for medical entrepreneurs. After serving in the military and building a career in the medical field, Suzy took a courageous leap into entrepreneurship, turning her healing journey from PTSD into a mission to help others break free from burnout and build businesses rooted in purpose. She is the founder of Starting a Business Simplified and the Higher Purpose Entrepreneur Community, and she's passionate about guiding healthcare professionals through aligned career transitions. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Corey, for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us how you got here. I love to first hear your journey and maybe obstacles along the way, but how did you get that courage to take that leap?
So I love that how you introduced me does kind of give a glimpse into a little bit of the journey that I've taken. I didn't realize it at the time, but after being in the military, I was a medic in the Army and I spent a year in Iraq. I came home, I was medically discharged, jumped right back into veterinary medicine.
Oh,
So
wow.
keeping the healthcare theme, but I was like, I just don't want to work on people. So I became a veterinary technician and stayed in the medical field. But I have a business degree and I did corporate business before the Army. So I kind of had this merging of ideas and thoughts, and how I did things was from a different perspective than just being straight medical. And when I came back, I was ignoring the fact that I was having triggers happening at work. So certain smells, or if we were in surgery, or if we had an emergency come in with an animal, I didn't realize that I was actually having these moments where I would freeze and I just couldn't do my job. And so it got to a place where I was like, maybe I need to control my environment. Maybe that's what I need to do. So I went back and got my coaching certification in health and life coaching because I'm like, I can do that from home. No big deal. I've worked in corporate. I know how to do a business. It's totally fine. Oh no, I did not. Let me just pause there for a minute. Working in corporate is not being a solo entrepreneur at all. At all.
I
Like
hear
there's
that
no,
so often.
yes, yes. So in my mind, I'm like, wait a minute. If I have an understanding of business and I have an understanding of the medical field and I'm struggling, how many other people are in that same position where they're like, what do I do? Where do I start? How did this corporation that I know all the intricate departments, how did it get started in the beginning? And as I did research, I was like, oh, business planning is like what everybody says to do. The downside is most entrepreneurs they're self-funded. They're not actually asking for a small business loan or
Right,
investors or whatever. They're
right,
like, I just want to do a thing and I want to help people. Like that's
right.
their goal. So what came to me in those moments, and this was before my healing journey, this is like pre-healing, like I just need to map out the steps. Like, what do you do when you get started? I needed it. So I researched and I figured out, I stripped out all of the heavy stuff that you don't really need when you're not asking for money.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just going to put all the things that you need. What are you selling? How much are you selling it for? Who are you selling it to? All that stuff. And I was doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
And within my first year of business, I was like, something's missing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like there's a piece missing. And I couldn't put my finger on it. And I was introduced to trauma energetics, which is a um, somatic energy combination healing practice.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to go inside myself and like find all of the nervous system responses that I'm having in my business, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. I was
Uh-huh.
doing all the things, but internally I wasn't healed. My nervous system was still a great example that I like to share. For some reason, I would have a physical response to working with clients. I work with my clients virtually, and I'd see it on my calendar and I would get sweaty and my pulse would race. And I would be like, why do I not want to get on this call? Like, I love helping people. I love doing what I do. What's
Mm-hmm.
happening?
Right.
And through my own working with my own trauma energetics healing coach, we identified I was a medic in a war zone.
Yes, you are. Can we say that again? You are a medic in a war
I
zone.
was a medic in a war zone. If I don't help my patient, they will die. Like
Right. Right.
that that is programmed in my nervous system. So it doesn't matter that I'm getting on a virtual Zoom call with somebody. My nervous system is still like, if you don't help them, they'll die. If you
Right.
can't solve their problem, if you can't stop the bleeding. And that was the light bulb moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
I need to work with medical professionals because we're trained to not make mistakes. We're
Right.
trained to stay in the lane. And that's not being an entrepreneur at all.
I remember the first time as a physical therapist, they said, here, come in and practice this code with me. And I was like, I'm a physical therapist. I'm usually the ones that say, run that way. They're like, no, but if your patient codes while you're with them, and I was just like, oh no, no, I'm not prepared for that.
Yes. And everything is protocol driven. If this happens, do this.
Yes.
You practice it, like you program your response. And I can remember going through my medic training in the Army, and they're like, we're going to do this so repeatedly that you're not even thinking about it. You're just doing it.
Right.
Well, that's subconscious programming.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
how do you unravel that when you're
Right.
trying to do something different?
Right. I love
Yes.
that. Well, and you mentioned early on too, you were in corporate. Clearly, you had expertise there. You were in a medic in the Army. Clearly, you had expertise there. And it just made me chuckle because I remember the day that I graduated PT school, my dad said, well, when are you going to go back and get your MBA so you can open your own business? And I thought, you've got to be kidding me. I'm not going back to school. And I don't know about medical school, but as far as doctors of physical therapy, we don't get any business training. We just get patient training. So I'm so glad that you're in this space because so many medical professionals do want to go out on their own, but have absolutely no business background and don't have a desire or really the need to go back and get their MBA too.
Yeah, and Business Simplified. So, how that came to be was I wanted to simplify the process of it because really, to be a business owner, and I know we know this once we start doing it, we're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to be able to have something to sell. So, what
Mm-hmm.
is your service? How much do you sell it for? How
Right.
do you deliver it? And that's it. And then everything
Right.
else is kind of detail driven. It's like, yes, you need to track it and make sure that you're following all of your industry things. There's the pieces and parts to it, but really a business is just having a thing to sell and selling it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yep.
it.
Yep.
So having an
Absolutely.
MBA is helpful, but not necessary.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Talk about a little bit about how your healing journey has helped you help your clients. What do you hear most from your clients, or what do you recognize most that kind of stops them in their tracks?
One of the first things that comes up is confidence, which shocks me. But then I think about me and I go, okay, yeah, I was there too in a different way. So they're totally confident in the medical world,
Mm-hmm.
1,000%. And then I'll be talking to them about their business and they're like, I don't know. I'm just not. I'm like, you are. You are
Yeah.
an expert in what you do. Look at the years of experience and education and all the things that you're doing. You're just doing it in a different container.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to learn this coming out of the military. So everybody has their own terminology, their own acronyms, their own way that they do things. Like all corporations do that. It's this own little ecosystem that happens in this container.
Mm-hmm.
Our knowledge doesn't leave when we leave the container.
Right.
And I had to remind myself of that when I stepped into my own journey. I was like, wait a minute, what do I know about business? What do I
Mm-hmm.
already know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of things that when I work with my clients, I'm just helping them remember.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that comes up all the time that is so true, and it's different in veterinary versus human medicine, is most of the time we don't take money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fear. It's a fear to ask for money for a service that they've been providing
Right.
basically without having an exchange of money, which I always describe money as energy. So it's
Yes.
just an energy exchange. So one of the biggest things I coach on is how do you remove all of the resistance around asking for money?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because people are still paying for medical services. They're either paying
Right.
their health insurance company or they're paying directly to the billing people or whoever's in the clinic situation or whatever. They're just not paying their nurse, doctor, or the provider that's providing the service.
Right.
So really stripping that down and giving them a sense of the value that they're bringing
Mm-hmm.
and that people are willing to pay for it. They already are. It's just you're removing the middleman. You're removing somebody else asking for it. So those are probably the two biggest things: confidence and then asking for money. Now, veterinary medicine, this is where I shifted. I can remember the first time that I actually had to check somebody out because normally the receptionist would do it, and they're like, "Can you just discharge this patient?" And I was like, "Sure." That was an experience. It was like, and your bill will be $3,500. How would you like to pay? And I thought my nervous system was going to be on fire. I was just like, my pulse was racing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm asking this person to pay me directly for the service we just provided. How do
Mm-hmm.
they do this every day?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's normal in that industry. So it's like normalizing when you go to the grocery store, you give them money, they give you food. When you go to
Right.
the shoe store, you give them money, they give you shoes. So it's
Right.
like normalizing that service is valuable. It's not just a thing.
And recognizing the value that you have to offer. And I hear you also saying helping your clients build the confidence in their own worth to say, yes, working with me is $300 an hour or whatever it is. This program is $5,000 for 12 weeks. Again, whatever it is, being able to bring that and say, this is what I provide, this is what you're going to get from it in the end, and this is the cost. I mean, that's where I was at the beginning. I was shocked that people were like, okay, sign me up. When do we start? And I thought, oh my gosh. But you're absolutely right. As a physical therapist, I never traded money with anyone. Never. The front desk handled all of it, or they were billed after.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah, and I like what you said because it's owning the value of it and realizing that people are willing. People want your service. They really do. They're out there looking for you. It's just harder because we don't have a storefront. So I think if we all had a place for people to come to directly to us, it'd be easier because it's like,
Yes.
oh, they're coming in the door. But
Mm-hmm.
because we're like internet and we're on in this global, market, it's so loud. It's like I remind myself every day, and I'm going to say this to your listeners. I say it to the listeners on my podcast. Every single day, I remind myself, people are searching for you, Suzy, and what you offer. People
Yes.
are searching. They are searching. It's
100%.
just so busy out there that we have to be more clear of telling people who we are and what we do so they
Yes.
can find us.
Yes. And there's billions of people on this planet. We could never possibly serve each one of them alone. So it doesn't matter how many people it seems like there are in your industry, there is an overabundance of clients looking for you. Absolutely. Absolutely. What about your clients who come to you feeling trapped in their career path and they're wanting to pivot, but they're scared? Like you said earlier, they don't feel like they have the expertise to make that jump. Where do you start with them?
This is the trauma energetics work that I personally went through myself, and then I now am helping teach it to Somagetics offers it. And I help teach the business component of it, because what happens is it's really our nervous system remembering past trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are like, well, I'm scared to, I have a client right now who just made it's so interesting that you use the word trapped, because that's the word she used. She said, 9 months ago, before I started working with you, Suzy, I felt trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, now I feel like I have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I have choices. No longer do I feel pigeonholed and trapped in this environment. I actually feel like I can choose what environment I want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
That's a transformation from an energetic healing the nervous system's response, because the trapped feeling is safety,
Right.
fight, flight, or freeze. It's like, okay, if I don't step out and do this business, I'm going to be safe.
Right.
But it's a false sense of safety because you're relying on somebody else to provide for you.
Right.
So you feel trapped because you feel like if I leave, I'm not guaranteed this paycheck that I've been receiving.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I have to stay, but I'm miserable because I don't
Right.
like how they're doing things. So I can't do them the way I want to do them. And so you get this sense of feeling trapped. So the first thing that we work on is, where did that come from? Where
Mm-hmm.
did you lose your sense of choice to be
Right.
able to feel confident in yourself enough that the choices you make, again, owning the responsibility of it, you're choosing to stay in the job right now. That's
Right.
a choice.
Yes.
You feel trapped, but you're choosing it.
Yes.
So we work on it. Also ties into the feeling value. So knowing your worth, and we're worthy without anything.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we're worthy before we even do anything. Like, we don't even have to do anything. So that was my own healing journey, was healing from feeling like I had to prove myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had to show people before they would believe that I could help them. When really a lot of the work I did was looking at my experience, my life experience, what I've done up to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an exercise that I work with clients on, is let's list out everything that you've done,
Mm-hmm.
and how does that translate to what you're doing now?
I love hearing that. That is exactly what I was working with a client with yesterday. Just starting off with, what are you good at? And not just in your current role, but like in life. And I think as women, especially, and as moms, so many of us have forgotten our expertise outside of being a mom or being an army medic or being a physical therapist. It's like, that's all I know. It's like, hold on, that's not all you know. Um, how have you been able to help your clients balance, all of their priorities without burnout while they're stepping out and doing this new thing?
I love this question because, again, I always use myself as an example. I'm doing the things, and not always successfully. I'm doing the things that I always recommend, but the first thing is calendar management.
Yes.
So again, breaking it down and saying, let's prioritize. There's a false sense of what needs to be done. So for example, I have a client right now. She came into the session and she's like, I have to do all these things. And she had this list of a ton and she's a full-time worker launching her business. And the first question I asked her is, I said, why? Why do you need to tell me the why for each one of those things? And if the why doesn't match signing a new client to generate revenue so that you can leave your job, you don't have to do it.
Yes.
It
Yes.
again, it goes back to, you just need to get clients. Like, that's the number one thing as a business owner, is to generate revenue so your business pays for itself.
Right.
It pays so you can stop. I'm self invested in my business. When I started, it was all my money going in to get it going. But my goal was for the business to take away that self-funding piece. So if you're thinking like that, then when your to-do list is a mile long, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I just need to go introduce myself in this community or be a guest on a podcast, or I need to go talk to a few people and tell them what I do. Ask somebody if they want to work with me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and you know, I'm chuckling because I literally looked at my calendar today and thought, "Oh my gosh," and it's all color coded and it's all pretty and there was no white space at all. Because I don't know about you, but Google Calendar, whenever you put an event on it, it automatically defaults to an hour. And then I really looked at what was on there, and it was little things that were going to take 5 minutes. So the moment that I adjusted the time appropriately, I had all this white space. And I think so many of us have a tendency to fill our time with busy work, exactly like you said, that we don't need to do. And I know, I'm sure you work with your clients about this, but what requires your expertise? And I heard a mentor say just the other day, this is my hourly rate. Would I pay somebody to splice my podcast that hourly rate? Absolutely not. So why am I doing it? Let it go, delegate. Um, when you talk, I was prepping for this interview today, and you talk a lot about higher purpose in business. Can you tell our listeners what that is?
Yeah. So I truly believe that we are amazing souls that came to this lifetime for a specific purpose.
Mhm.
And being soul aligned is following that inner calling or that inner knowing of what
Mhm.
you should be doing. And I look at my past and realize that everything I've done led me to this time now.
Mhm.
So when I was working in the post anesthesia care unit, the PACU,
Mhm.
in the Army when I first started, and I was I was creating a way for them to save time so that they were doing this tracking system for all the patients that came out of the OR and who what department they went to and all that. And I saved hundreds of hours of their admin staff tracking all this just by implementing a process that I knew would work.
Mhm.
And I got an award for it. And I was like, okay, well, that's cool. Fast forward to today, and that's what I do. I
Mhm.
naturally have this gift of taking a situation and stripping it down and going, what is really necessary here? And how can we streamline it and make it faster, easier, so that we have more time, just like what you did in your calendar. And
Mhm.
so once I tapped into my own inner knowing, this is what I bring to the world, then I could start really, and I meditate and spend time asking for direction from source. So from a higher power.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to say, what do I need to know today? And what do I need to focus on today?
Mhm.
And then it always matches up with what my gifts are. So
Mhm.
I always tell everybody, we all have unique gifts. We have unique things that we bring to the world. And once we know what those are and understand them, then it makes it easier and we step into our higher purpose. We're
Mhm.
here for a purpose. We're here for a reason. And I had to be in the army. I had to be in the hospital. I had to do the things to get to this place to where I'm like, huh, okay, I get it now.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's everything has a purpose. It's driving us to, and what I'm doing right now, being on this podcast with you is laying the foundation of something in my future. Not sure what that is yet, but
Right.
at some point I'll look back and I'm like, that conversation with Corey, it spurred this, and this. Like it's just
Yes.
this big, we're all connected and there's this big energy happening. So higher purpose to me is really learning what it is about yourself that you bring that's unique to the world. And there could be more people out there doing what I do, but they're doing it in their own way.
Right.
So knowing what that is and then being able to implement, how do I do this now?
Mhm.
How do I actually live in my purpose? What does
Right.
that look like? And that's what I love bringing to the world.
Well, and I just want to honor you for a second for saying too, being able to trust your own intuition allows you to let go of the how. so many of my clients and I myself lived so much of my life saying, well, I can't do that yet because I don't know how. I don't know how the pieces will fall into place. I don't know how it's going to come together. And having that inner knowing your higher purpose allows you to say, I don't know how this is going to come to fruition. I don't know how this podcast interview is going to affect my future, but it's going to, and I'm here for that purpose, and I'm going to see what happens. And as women, I don't want to speak for all women, but I personally had a really hard time letting go of what I thought I had control over. I've since realized I had no control over any of it. Um, but I love what you said, that because it really intertwines with your higher purpose and then letting go of needing to know all the pieces and parts to get you there.
And that's speaking to the medical professional, that's big too. We have to know.
Yes.
I mean, as a physical therapist, how many times did you run scenarios? Okay, if this shows up, you do what?
Yes. If this, then this. If this, then this. If this, then this. I had to unlearn so much of that.
Yes, and I will tell you, this is a lifelong healing process for me and learning and expanding, letting go of control.
Now, I didn't
But
live in a situation like an army medic where like this person's going to die on my table if, but we did have patients in knowing, okay, these are the red flags. You're showing red flags. You're going to the emergency room right now. You're not having therapy. So
yep.
same, we are so trained to see all the scenarios at all the time and the worst possible case scenario. Sorry, I
Yep.
didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just wanted to put that in there.
No, that is kind of what I was getting at because my husband and I were full-time RVers for people that don't know that. And so we travel and we are stationary for periods of time. And so when we get ready to travel, in my brain, I automatically go to this can happen, this can happen, this can happen, flat tire, all these scenarios. And then I go, wait a minute, what's happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
None of those things.
I am safe right now in this moment. Uh-huh. And that part of it, I don't know if it's more women, but I grew up in a generation of very anxious women. My mom, my grandmother, all of us, my poor daughter. And my mom jokes about going to the bad place because it's just this immediate spiral of the worst case scenario. And you're like, whoa, I'm still sitting on the couch. Calm down. Let's reel it back in just a little bit. Oh,
I wonder if that is a more of a woman generational thing too, because I don't have human children. I have pets. They're my children, but I still go there.
mhm,
Like it's a natural thing to be almost, and it could be the medical side too, that it's very analytical thinking. So we're like always analyzing things and always thinking of this or that or whatever. But I do feel that we have this, I want to protect. I want to
mhm,
make sure everybody's safe, everyone's secure, everyone has what they need. This genuine nurturing sense of taking care of others before ourselves. And there is a way to take care of yourself that is not selfish. And I
yes.
think when we find that happy place and we go, oh, this is self nurturing for me, which then I can show up 100% and let go of the control tendencies and that anxiety around the what ifs. I can just be at peace and know that I'm going to let it unfold how it's going to happen and it's all going to be fine. Even if it's
Mhm.
difficult, I know how to handle it. Like
Yes,
I'm
yes.
okay. And I do. I think it can be. I've seen it different with my husband. So from a female male perspective, he's very much chill. He's like, I'll just deal with it when it happens. Where I'm like, this could happen, that could happen. No, he's like, what is wrong with you?
Uh-huh. Well, and it's funny that you say that because my husband's really chill too. And he looked at me one day as I was spinning out and he said, Corey, I used to do the same thing. He said, and then all the things that I worried about happening actually happened. None of my worry was able to stop them. And he said, that was my kind of breaking point of I literally have no control over whether my parents get cancer, whether I go through this or that. He said, he's like, I don't want you to have to go through any of that. But what I hear you saying too is even though you don't have human children, there are other women in your life who look up to you and so appreciate that view of taking care of yourself. Because as soon as they see Suzy, oh, she went and did that for herself. That gives me permission to do that too. Oh, maybe I can, incorporate that into my life. So I love that.
Yeah, that was a big one for me to embrace too, because, and again, because I don't have human children, in my mind, I'm like, I can just do everything because I don't have kids. I can just work myself into the ground because I don't have to worry about somebody else. I can, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not healthy. Like,
Oh my gosh. My best friend's a professor, and she and her husband chose not to have children. And she said, the amount of people who come to me and are like, oh, well, you can work Christmas because you don't have kids. She's like, no, I chose not to have children so that we could go and do all these things whenever. She's like, that doesn't mean I get to work every holiday or do everything like you said. It's so, so important that we first
and
take care of ourselves.
And we are role models. I'm
Mhm.
a role model for all the other women and people that are watching me and an example.
Mhm.
And for the younger generations, like if I'm doing everything and working myself to the ground, what example am I giving to people? It's saying, oh, when you're a business owner, you're just going to kill yourself. Like it's
Right.
not sustainable. And that was a hard one for me because again, when I got my business degree, I was working full time. So I was in school full time, working full time, basically two jobs and feeling like, oh, this is no problem. But then I
Mhm.
was like, wait a minute, I'm not enjoying life.
Right.
I'm just doing things.
Yes.
And when I graduated, I was like, okay, now what do I do with my time?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had to figure out me. And
Yes.
so we're examples and all the things that we do, people are watching us and they're like, how are they doing that? And it's a good reminder for me to share more of what I'm doing. Cause I think a lot of times, especially Corey, you and I were in the public eye. We do podcasts, we're out there and people look at us and they probably go, oh my gosh, they have it all together and they're doing all the things and their life is amazing. And I'm like, oh no.
Uh-huh.
Yes, we are responsible adults doing a thing, but it's not without tears and it's not without struggle and it's not without putting in the extra time when it's needed and actually looking at our calendar and going, huh, do I really need to be doing all these things? Is this really going to take this much? All the little intricate things that most people don't see us doing. So I love that you share that and you're open about it. I do the same thing. I'm like, okay, tell people what you're doing. That was advice from a YouTube that I watched. It was a podcaster talking about share with your audience what you're doing
Mhm.
because it's helpful.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, I've gotten really clear with some of my friends. They're like, I just don't know how I could do everything that you do. And I said, but do you want to? This aligns with what my higher purpose is, to use your language, but that doesn't mean it needs to be yours. Like, do you have a desire to go out and be a podcaster? No. Then it's not apples to apples. So yeah, it's getting out of that comparison reality too.
I love that you say that because my podcast started because I just wanted to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was on a podcast recently and I actually said that I was like, I didn't plan it. It wasn't like a marketing strategy. I was like, I just wanted to talk, tell people what
Uh-huh.
I was thinking and what was going
Uh-huh.
on and how I was feeling. And so it's so interesting that, and I tell my clients that all the time too, is where they're like, oh, I have to do social media. I'm like, why? I know for a fact, and I know it's out there. Social media has been going on for several decades now, but it's not a have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Mm-hmm.
to be willing to show up where you want to show up and talk about yourself. And I think that's the sticking point. It's not doing social media any more than just showing up when you're doing an activity. You're bowling or you're at a dinner somewhere or you're visiting with friends and they're like, hey, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
How do you address that? How do you say that in a way that sparks curiosity? So then they get more curious and then they go, huh, I have a friend who has a friend that might need your help.
Yes. Yes. And being able to just confidently introduce yourself without stumbling over everything. That took a while for me, especially after the pivot. I mean, when you were an Army medic and people asked you what you did, you said, I'm an Army medic, without skipping a beat. And then we move out of that expertise and it's like, oh, well, what do I do? And that's something that I work with a lot of my clients on. Absolutely. I want to
Yeah.
make sure that we have time for you to tell us about any retreats or any activities or any mentorship programs that you have coming up or any offers, and also anything that we haven't talked about. So I just want to pivot just a little bit to make sure I can be respectful of your time.
Yes, thank you for that. So what the one thing that I would love the listeners to take away is, if you're hesitating to do something, and it doesn't even need to be starting a business or being an entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
there's a thing that you want to do, that you have this burning desire to do, and you keep hesitating. I
Mm-hmm.
want to just ask you to pause, get really, really quiet, and ask the question of what to do. Because we talked about not knowing the how, but our intuition will give us steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be a baby step. Call a friend and tell them you're interested.
Mm-hmm.
Ask somebody to join you, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
This quiet little whisper that we don't hear when we're busy and we have noise happening. So don't turn on a podcast. Sorry, and then we're on a podcast, but turn off all of turn off all the electronics. Don't have music playing. Don't, like, silence. Sit in silence. And I'm going to say, set a timer. So if you're
Mhm.
like, I don't know how long, set a timer for 2 minutes. 2 minutes is really long when you sit in silence.
Yes.
And let yourself ask the question, what is the one thing that I should do now to move me towards this thing that I want? Guarantee you will get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get an answer, do it repetitively until you do.
Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. I love that.
I do. So Business Simplified, I have a podcast, Starting a Business Simplified, which Corey will be on in the future. Her and I've already talked about that. So I'm excited to do that. I also have the Higher Purpose Entrepreneur Community, which is a community of spirit-led entrepreneurs. And we get together to support, collaborate, encourage each other, refer each other. And it's just a space to be comfortable, to come in and just talk about what you do. And like Corey mentioned, practice. I
Mhm.
have somebody in there right now that she practiced her workshop on all of us before she actually offered it out to the public. So it's just a space where people can come and be comfortable being uncomfortable as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And then I do retreats. I have a virtual retreat coming up in October. I'm going to be doing those once a year, and then an in-person retreat that's happening in Alaska this year, and I'll be doing that once a year as well. But anything and everything, if anybody's curious about me and wants to know more, they can just go to my website because it has everything on there. And it's startingabusinesssimplified.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming today. This was absolutely wonderful.
Thanks for having me, Corey.
As we close out today's episode, I want to leave you with this. Your next level is already within you. If you're feeling that pull for more clarity, more alignment, and more courage to step fully into who you're meant to be, this is your invitation to take the next step. Whether you're an entrepreneur ready to scale or a woman standing at the edge of something bigger, the path forward starts with trusting your desires, owning your worth, and leading with your inner knowing. This is exactly what I offer: private VIP coaching, and where I guide women inside the 10K Club and 50K Club through consulting with She Sells and Superhuman Selling to help you gain clarity, step into aligned action, and build a life and business that reflects your highest vision. If you're ready to explore what's next, let's have a conversation. Book a free call now at www.corywinn.com/free call. I can't wait to connect with you. Talk soon.